Hi there and welcome to today's vlog, and the very good news is that I am COVID free. So I'm delighted with that. Tested negative eventually. It hung around for a little while, this COVID, my first time. And unfortunately, one of the consequences of me having COVID was that I missed 3 services which I was supposed to be taking on 2 separate Sundays. And that's a bit of a shock to the system, because as I look back over my 30 years of active ministry until I retired a couple of years ago, during all that time, as far as I remember, I never once missed a service because of any health issues. So it's come as a bit of a shock, and it's rather sad that I had to miss those 3 services. But of course, I didn't want to run the risk of passing COVID on to anybody else in the congregations. So there we are. That cough is still hanging around, but at least I'm COVID free. So I've had a few health issues since I retired a couple of years ago. It seems that after all that working life, when I was fairly healthy, one or two issues have cropped up. First of all, my blood pressure was a bit high, so I was put on tablets for that. And then the doctor also decided to put me on statins, which a lot of men of my age are given. I think that's to do with dealing with cholesterol issues. So I'm on 2 lots of tablets. Then, more recently, it was discovered that my blood sugar level was quite high. So now I've had a conversation at the surgery this morning, and I've been told that I've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which is not at all good news. However, we agreed that I would try and deal with that through diet, making sure I just alter my diet a bit, make sure I eat the right things. So hopefully that will bring that under control. So there we go. But I'm feeling pretty good, so that's the good news. Just enjoy every day, make the most of every day that we are given by God. Now, I just want to mention that in my daily Bible reading, I started this morning in the book of Ezekiel. I'm reading through the Bible in the Message version, and I've come to Ezekiel, and the writer of, or the translator of the Message, Eugene Peterson, gives a little intro to each of the books as you come to them. And he's talking about, in Ezekiel's time, the catastrophe that had overtaken the Hebrew people, that they'd been defeated by the Babylonians, who destroyed the temple, etc., the city of Jerusalem, and taken many of the people into exile in Babylon. So Ezekiel addresses the kind of issue is, how do we deal with catastrophe? And Eugene Peterson makes the point that generally there are 2 ways that people often respond to catastrophe. The first is denial. They kind of almost ignore the fact that catastrophe has overtaken, bury their head in the sand, are distracted by other things, and don't want to face up to the reality of that catastrophe. So that's denial. The other response that is sometimes seen is despondency, that they get totally overwhelmed with what's happened, and darkness and despair overtakes them. So that totally colours and affects their outview on life. And Eugene Peterson suggests that Ezekiel's message to the people, first of all, for those who are in denial, to acknowledge what's happened, face it, look at it, face it head on. Don't ignore it, don't pretend it hasn't happened, but just remember that God is at work even in this catastrophe. Embrace God even in the worst and the darkest of times. So acknowledge what's happening. And for those who are in despair, again, acknowledge that though it's a catastrophe has happened, God is at work. See still God at work. And the message of Ezekiel, both to those who are in denial and those who are in despondency, despair, is that with God, there is always hope for the future. And isn't that good news? The good news of the gospel, the good news that the Bible brings, is that whatever eventuality overtake us, whatever catastrophe may hit us, and who knows what that may be, God is at work, and God brings that message of hope. So God bless you. Thank you so much for listening today.